Alright, we are at the CBR Circuit Race. I want to say this is like CBR number 4. This is the same circuit race that we had done earlier in the year, except this one we ran the opposite direction. So we're going counterclockwise, which I really enjoyed. I liked it better than the other direction, only because there was more recovery after the downhills this direction than there was going the other direction, which definitely favored a lighter, more punchy rider than myself. So you can tell by the graphic up in the right hand corner the direction of the course. Right now we're past the pigtail and we're heading back towards the rectangle when we make a right turn here. And the wind today was a factor. It's actually coming from our left shoulder this direction in this race for this day. So now we're turning into a tailwind, and then we're making our left-hand turn here. So what's going on in the race right now? We're going into 3 laps to go, and Mark Tucker broke away. Mark Tucker is a rider, a friend of mine, and a rider from Fresno. He came down because the Coppertown Circuit Race got canceled due to smoke. So Mark came down to race, and he's super fit from nationals. Still has that same fitness. And the early part of the race was just attack after attack with Mark and Pat Boss and Pat Caro, Doug Pomeranz, and they were trying pretty hard to get breakaways off, but there's a little bit of dynamic going on because Pat Caro is the race leader in a yellow jersey. You'll see him. He's on Go Fast team. He's wearing the yellow jersey, and he and Pat Boss are 1 and 2 on points, and they kind of tended to cancel each other out. So here's an attack going off the front right now, and I kind of missed it a little bit. So we're getting into the last part of the race, so I'm not going to be letting any breakaways go. So what I'm trying to do is just get on the power. This is kind of a downhill crosswind section here, so I'm just trying to keep my effort levels, keep my powder dry, so to speak. So I'm keeping them close and reeling them in without going into the red zone, because I know that there's a sprint coming up if we don't let these guys get away. And my teammate Bart is behind me. My friend Jerome came down from NorCal. He's behind me, so I kind of want to keep these guys in contention. And I thought if I could get them to 2 turns to go, then I can sprint up the hill and take them to the last corner and at least let them sprint. Because we're both 50 plus, so we would be actually sprinting for the win, because Mark is 45. So Mark was in a completely different category. This is like many races this year, they put us together. So Pat Boss just did a dive bomb inside of me there, which fine, because he could stick it and he wasn't close to me at all. So Pat's a really good bike handler. But this is a hairpin here, so we're coming up to the left-hand hairpin. It was never really a problem. I think one guy flatted, I think Tommy Robles, who actually kind of takes an interesting twist to this drama. He flatted and didn't have a wheel in the pit, so I don't know how many laps he sat out, but he was not eligible to win this race. So we didn't know that at this point. I just thought Tommy's a really good sprinter, and he's always been a competitor of ours. We've had a healthy rivalry over the years, so I just assumed that he was in there ready to scrap it, like normal. So there's Jerome. He's a former national champion. He drove down from NorCal. He lives up in Woodside. Came down with his dog Ellie Mae. Everybody knows Ellie Mae. Jerome's riding really strong. He had a mechanical before the race, or his shifting wasn't shifting, so Scott Johnson from Serious Cycling really helped him out, and my teammate Andrew had brought a second bike just in case, so either way he was covered. There's Andrew. he had just said to me, hey, should I bring that back? And he goes to the front and just drills it and brings back that last lap attack of Doug Pomerantz, who went off the front trying to break away. So huge effort by Andrew, which, you know, these little things like that as a team really help us out. I'm just kind of rolling up to Tommy here. That's Tommy, who I was talking about. I'm right in front of me. He's not on a team right now. He's just racing solo. So we're going into 2 laps to go here. Mark Tucker is off the front and gone. I think he had a good 45 second to probably almost a minute gap at the end. That guy in the white leg warmers there, I don't know if they were the sunblock arm warmers, or leg warmers, but he had full arm warmer and leg warmers on. He was pretty aggressive. I think his name is Michael. He attacked quite a few times off the front. I think his name is Mike Morrison. I'm not for sure on that. If somebody knows, correct me in the comments. But he got second at Ontario the week before by getting in a very key breakaway that everybody just kind of let go, and they just didn't respect him. But the guy's strong. But, you know, with 2 laps to go, nobody's going to let anything go. So I'm pretty sure it was coming down to a sprint, so I just wanted to make sure that I stayed in the front here. And for the most part, it was pretty safe. I mean, the guys were riding pretty... You're going to see John Garbo on the right-hand side here almost get chopped. As we make this right-hand turn, kind of keep an eye on the guy in the black there right in front of me and watch what happens to John. He kind of gives him a little jink here. And whoop! And John kind of gets put to the curb, but he saved it. Good save by John. 2 more times through the hairpin. I just want to kind of stay towards the front because it gets really bunched up towards the back. You know, you never know with a couple laps to go. There's Ben Van Mark going up the front, which is nice because he'll keep the pace nice and high. I think with 1 lap to go, Pat Boss and Pat Caro kind of get a little gap and break away off the front. And like I said, they kind of cancel each other out because one doesn't want to lead the other one out. So I don't think they were working too well together, so I was able to peg them back before the hairpin on the next lap. And then I just stayed as close to the front as I could so that I could give Bart and Jerome a lead out. So you'll kind of see how that plays out coming up. We were all pretty happy for Mark because we're not going to chase Mark down because he's a teammate. Or he's not a teammate, but he's a close friend of ours. And there's plenty of guys here that can bring him back. And he's a 45 plus, so there's absolutely no reason for us to chase him down. His move actually was really impressive. The way he went off the front like he was shot out of a gun, and we just never saw him again. I mean, we would have had to do 30, 32, 33 miles an hour to bring him back, and nobody was willing to do that. So Mark's got the engine to stay away, and that he did. He had a well-earned victory today, solo off the front for 20 minutes. Can't ask for better than that, especially for this. This was a pretty talented, stacked field. I mean, these are some strong riders. A lot of these guys were at nationals. So the pace is pretty high right here, and I'm in a good spot. You can see my heart rate. Sorry, you can't see my heart. Sorry, my power numbers. You can see my power numbers. I'm trying to just stay out of the wind, and this is a little uphill section right here. It's like 3%, and it kind of levels off to 2% at the top just before the last turn. And this is usually where all the moves are made, right here. So I'm in a really good spot. I was hoping it would just stay really fast and strung out like this, because that makes it so much better and safer for a finish. There goes Pat. There goes the 2 Pats. Pat Boss in yellow. I'm sorry, Pat Caro in yellow and Pat Boss in the black on the hit squad. And they just they hit it full gas right here, and everybody kind of hesitated a little bit, and I was a little too far back. So Jerome's, he's smart. He's staying towards the front. Bart was right up there in the front too. So I know my job is to get to the front and keep it rolling. So that's what I'm going to do here as soon as I can break free of the traffic. I wanted to be first through the hairpin just because it's bell lap and I just did not want to get stacked up. So I'm just going to move up on the side here. I'm actually not able to get by everybody until we make this next right turn, and then I can get to the front and get to the hairpin first and try to close that gap on the two Pats, because the two Pats were essentially off to the races. If one of their teammates had been able to get to the hairpin before me, he could have just lightly laid on the brakes through the turn, which is kind of pretty common for hairpin turn courses. If you have teammates, it's not like technically blocking, it's just not taking the turn super fast. So you just kind of roll into the turn like this and then just kind of ease and just slowly accelerate out of the turn, and it just gives the breakaway a couple of seconds each lap, and that compounds into a long race. But didn't want to do that right here, so I wanted to be first through the turn, and then I just kind of rolled through, and then everybody starts going. So that's perfect for me. They see them right there, so they're going to close that gap. A guy in the yellow right there, I don't know who he was. He just ended up getting in the way a lot. He was strong enough to be at the front, but he wasn't strong enough to sprint, so he kind of caused a major obstacle in the sprint finale, which would have been good for me and Bart, because I'm on Tommy's wheel right here, and I know Tommy's going to sprint. I didn't know Tommy was a couple laps down, so technically he shouldn't have been in here, and he shouldn't have been sprinting in hindsight. And he ended up being DQ'd from the race, or his placing was placed way down in the field. So even though he was the first 50 across the line, he was. So we got the two Pats right there. So now we just have 2 turns to go. We got to go up the hill and then to the final turn. So as soon as we make this left-hand turn, I kind of light it up the left-hand side to get Bart and Jerome up. But somebody started sprinting on the right too, so I was kind of able to just slide over and jump on the wheel going up the hill. And there's Scott Cox from Pete's on the front. There's Doug Pomeranz on the front. These guys aren't sprinters, so they're just gonna go backwards right here. So the guy in the yellow jumps. He's giving it a shot, but then he just ends up fading and moving left, and so Tommy kind of swerves left right here and almost takes my front wheel out, and I have to hit the brakes. And when he jumps hard, see, he's coming up on the guy in the yellow, and he's got to go left, so he goes left, and I have to hit the brakes, and it just messes me up bad. So Garbo gets around me, and it messes up Bart too, so I move over to let Bart in, and then I just try to get on top of my gear to stay as close to these guys as I can. I'm not sure what happened to Jerome. He might have got chopped too, but Bart ended up getting first 50, and I ended up getting second 50. The two guys in front of us are 45 plus.